Hi everybody, I want to talk about something ever so important today, and that is fingerboard mapping and fingerboard geography on the viola. So I'm excited to do that because if I think of all the things that I've practiced for my entire life, this is one of those things that I come back to over and over and over again. And when I was younger, I used to practice this so much because I really felt that if I knew all of the positions, all of the fingerboard, that I could just about play everything, and it works. And even as a bonus, it makes your sight reading so good because you really understand keys and you really understand how your fingers need to be to line up well on the fingerboard. So let's get started right away and talk about tetrachords. Now, what is a tetrachord? It's a hard word, T-E-T-R-A-C-H-O-R-D. Hard word to know, easy word to understand. First of all, a tetrachord uses four things, which are four fingers in our case. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when we do this, first of all, the first and the second fingers together, like this. That is the first tetrachord. The second one is, you guessed it, the second and the third fingers together, just like this. You know, it's a really good idea if you do this when you practice. 1, 2. When you can actually do it very quickly like that. The third tetrachord, number 3 and 4 together. The fourth tetrachord, you guessed it, none of the fingers together. They're all whole steps. So when the fingers are together, it's a half step. When they're not together, it's a whole step. That's a diatonic scale for the majors. It's always like that. It's great to know. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to start off with 1 octave scales on each string. Where's the best place to find that? That's in Carl Flesch, the Carl Flesch book for the viola. I'm here in D major. It's on page number 92. The first thing you see there is the scale on the D string. So I'm going to start with that right now. And first, before we do that, we're going to practice doing all of the tetrachords. The first thing we're going to do is to play the first and second finger together, just like this, starting on D. Now you can see the tetrachord right here. That's my tetrachord. Number 1 and 2 touch, not touch, not touch. I hold it there. I look at it. And I get the idea that that is tetrachord number 1. Tetrachord number 2, the first, the second, and the third finger touch each other. So it looks like this. Back to the tetrachord, looking like this. I can practice many times like that because it really helps me know exactly where the fingers go. Now let me make a little caveat here. When you're doing these exercises, when you're playing scales, when you're doing fingerboard mapping, always, that is always, keep all of your fingers down so you can examine. So a lot of people practice like this. But the problem is it doesn't tell me anything about the tetrachords. I want to see the tetrachords and feel them and know exactly what they are. Let's go to the third tetrachord. That's the third and the fourth fingers touching each other. Just like that. And the fourth tetrachord, all the fingers are separated. None of them touch each other. That's it, I've got all 4. Now with all 4 of those, I can start working on my scale. So the fingering for the D major scale, if you look at the Carl Flesch book, looks like this. So as you notice, there are 2 shifts there. I shift from first to second position. I switch from first to third position, and then I switch from third to fifth position in shifting. And that's really important to know because what I want to do is to figure out my tetrachords in each of those positions in the key of D. So I know my notes, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. You need to know that the key of D, it has 2 sharps, F sharp C sharp. The other notes are all natural. Once you know that, you can figure this out. So the first thing I do is to play tetrachords in all three positions. So I'm going to go to first position, play a tetrachord in the key of D. So D, E, F sharp, G. With the F sharp and the G together, I practice like this. Third and fourth together there looks like this. That's it. Once I get that, I'm going to look into the third position. Now the third position starts on the third note, D, E, F sharp, which is going to be the first finger, F sharp. So I have a F sharp, G, A, B, looking like this. Now instead of the third and fourth fingers touching, now in the third position, I have the first and the second fingers touching, just like this. So already I have an idea of I'm playing in the key of D, and this is how my fingers are going to operate there. Now a little more tricky, I have to find the note in the fifth position. That note is going to be an A. So I have an A, a B, a C sharp, and a D. The C sharp and the D together, therefore the other notes are not together. So I have a third and fourth finger together up there, find the A. Here's a little hint. The A is right on this ridge right here. So I can just really put my finger down on that ridge over there, and I have it looking like this. That's it. Now I have everything I need to know to play this scale. Let's give it a try. Just like that. Now, that's really important. What's missing here is that I don't play all the notes, but I know where they are. In other words, it could look like this. That's me working those tetrachords. Do I practice that? You bet I do. I love to practice like that because that way I really know where every single finger goes in the key on that string. And then I'm golden because when I play any piece in the key on that string, I have a great idea what I'm doing. Here's another thing, just to tell you, I practice a lot in the key of D first, like a long time, because I truly believe once you really understand one key, then suddenly the next key is really not difficult at all. And there's a learning curve. So at first it's very difficult to learn things, but then once we know one thing really well, it's much easier to learn other things. So now I'm going to play two notes in a bow and play the scale going up. Wait a minute, what are those extra notes? Well, the thing that I haven't talked about yet is the shifting. So the shifting is really cool, and I work a lot on this. This is probably, in my left hand, the thing that I have done the most on my instrument, and that is figuring out the shifts and how to go from here, which is a whole step with the first and second fingers, or not touching, to here when I shift, where it's a half step. So whenever I shift, I want all of my fingers to be playing in the correct key. So when I make the shift, I always shift with the last finger down to the new note in the key signature, and all of the fingers fall in the place where if I just pick the finger up, it will be in the right place. That's hard to explain, but let's take a look at it. So when I play the first two notes, now my fingers are separated or in a whole step, but when I shift up, I'm going to shift with my second finger to the second finger note in the key. I'm going from an E to a G. As I went to the G, my first finger covers an F, right? No, not right. It covers an F sharp because that's the note I'm going to have to play. So then when I lift up my second finger, it reveals a great note here, an F sharp. And that's how I do the key, the shifting to the key in the key. So that's really, really important. So let me do that again, and you should take out your instrument and try to do this with me. I'm going to play from first position to third position, making the shift and making sure that my fingers going to the new position adjust to that tetrachord in the new position. In other words, it's going to go from a tetrachord with 3 and 4 together to a tetrachord of 1 and 2 together. Like so. That is so important. Now let's try to go from third position to fifth position. Now when I go from third position to fifth position, it does the opposite as far as the first finger goes. Right now in third position, the 2 fingers are touching, but when I go to the fifth position, they're not touching. So when I shift up here, I'm going to be opening my fingers to make sure that I have the tetrachord all set to play up there in fifth position. Let's look at that. Like so. And that's what I need to play that D major scale beautifully. Let's look at the whole scale now. Now I have the scale down. That's really, really, really helpful. So, let's recap. Mapping the fingerboard has to do with tetrachords, and it has to do with your method of shifting. This video in no way is comprehensive, but it's a great start to learning how to do these things. Now I'm going to start on the D string. I'm going to skip the G string because it goes really high, and I think it's easier to go back into the lower positions and figure out how to do things, and then go to the higher positions while it's a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to do the first position D major scale, which is interesting because the shift is different because I'm starting not on the first finger, but I'm starting on the open string. So let's look at that tetrachord in first position in key of D major. So now you see it starts off with my second and third fingers together, not the first and second, not the third and fourth, but the second and third. So that's a new tetrachord altogether. I'm going to shift 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this example. So I'm going to play 0, 1, 2, 3, and then play 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I've mapped out. I'm in first position. Now fourth position. In fourth position, you notice my tetrachord is third and fourth fingers together. So I'm going from first position with the second and third fingers together to the fourth position with the third and the fourth fingers together. Makes my tetrachords a little bit more tricky, but it's so helpful to practice like this. I'm going to show you. When I make the shift, my fingers have to go from this position because 1, 2, and 3 have 2 and 3 together, but up in fourth position, don't forget 1, 2, and 3 are separated because the tetrachord's from 3 to 4. So I'm going to have to make the shift going from here to there. So my third finger spreads across away from my second finger. And then I'm going to show you how when I do that, even though I'm shifting to using my third finger, all the other fingers are going to be in the right places. So let's take a look at that right now. Now I shifted up to the C sharp because that's the last finger down, and the C sharp is what the third finger will play in the key. But when I lift up all the fingers, it reveals a beautiful A right there. And that's exactly what I want. That's really hard to do. When you first start doing this, you probably will get something like this. You get the wrong note up there. And so it takes practice that we can do the stretch and we can separate the fingers and get that position, and all the fingers will be in the right place. And that's how we really get that geography on the fingerboard and the accuracy that we want as a great viola player. So let me show you that scale again. Just like that. Now you see that, that's a little complicated. Let me show you again. Now when I get there, I make sure my fingers are down. As I said before, that they're both separated. I lift up, reveal the A. Just put my fingers back, and my fourth finger and the tetrachord will touch the third. And I have a beautiful D major scale there. Again, in no way is this video comprehensive because I didn't even go down yet, and the video is getting longer. But I should do more videos about this. If you want me to do more videos about this, put a note in the comment and let me know. I'll do a video that gets more into this, because we can also do arpeggios like this and all sorts of things like this. This, to me, finding your tetrachords and working the shifts, those are the two things that make our fingerboard mapping and geography fantastic, and working to our advantage and giving us economy in our playing and efficiency and making us great players. That is that left hand key. And so I can't encourage you enough to work these things out. It is really fun to really feel that you understand your instrument and that you feel that you are able to play anything. It empowers your playing, and it gives you the freedom to be expressive, and it will give you everything you ever wanted and more in your viola playing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you watch it a few times. It takes a few times to really understand what I'm doing. Play along with me. Ask me questions in the comments. I'm glad to help. And until I see you the next time, happy practicing.